All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling that one topic that inevitably comes up at every single family dinner table these days. You know, the one if you have a family member, a friend, or honestly, if you yourself find cryptocurrency just kind of confusing, well, you are in the exact right place. We are decoding Bitcoin today. We're going to break down exactly what it is, why it exists, and how it is basically the next massive evolution of the internet itself. Let's get into it. So, when you're trying to explain crypto to, say, your uncle or your mom, you are almost guaranteed to hit a wall of skepticism right out of the gate. And the first question out of their mouth is usually something like, but is Bitcoin perfect? They'll point out that you can't really buy a cup of coffee with it everywhere yet, it's not always used for everyday prices, and the value fluctuates. And you know what? That is a completely fair question. Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. But now, what's really interesting about this slide is this quote from Peter Van Valkenburg, the director of research at Coin Center. He points out that email wasn't exactly perfect when it was invented back in 1972 either. Just think about that for a second. Early email was incredibly clunky, practically nobody even had an address, and it sure wasn't the seamless, instant global communication tool that we literally rely on today. But the core technology of sending a message over a digital network, that worked. And Bitcoin is in that exact same phase right now. It works, and the mere fact that it works perfectly without some trusted middleman is an absolute computer science breakthrough. But to really grasp why that's such a big deal, we kind of have to look at how our world operates right now. Which brings us to Section 1, the middleman problem and centralized risks. Think about how we've historically shared things. We have this amazing public infrastructure for information, right? Websites, email, the internet itself. It's out there for all of us, completely available, and not owned by any single company. But when it comes to our money, the only truly public payments infrastructure we actually have is physical paper cash. And that really only works if we're standing face to face. The second you want to pay someone remotely, like over the phone or online, you cross over into digital payments, and boom, you can no longer use public infrastructure. Before Bitcoin, you had to rely entirely on private infrastructure. You literally have to trust a private bank to open their books, add a ledger entry that debits your account and credits the person you're paying. Actually, scratch that. If you use different banks, you're trusting multiple banks and multiple ledger entries. You are completely at the mercy of corporate middlemen. And honestly, relying on middlemen comes with some massive risks. Because these corporate intermediaries providing our critical, privately owned infrastructure, they're becoming fewer, they're getting larger, and they are incredibly powerful. And when they fail, the consequences are grave. Just look at this track record of massive centralized failures. A breach at Equifax exposed the social security numbers of 143 million people. That's roughly half the country. Then there's the Swift banking network, exploited through corrupt employees at Punjab National Bank for $1.8 billion, literally the largest bank heist in history. Or how about October 2016? Hackers took 1.2 million everyday internet-connected devices, formed a botnet, and took down huge sites like CNN, Fox News, and the New York Times. And it gets even scarier with the Internet of Things. Physical machines wired through private servers have been completely compromised. We're talking pacemakers, baby monitors, even Jeeps being hacked and remotely commandeered right off the road. It's wild. So the crucial point is, these vulnerabilities are completely inescapable in systems that have a single point of failure. It really doesn't matter if that point of failure is a massive tech corporation or government agency. If all the data or all the control is sitting in one centralized spot, a single flaw or one single hack can compromise the entire system. Just like the old days when our communications had to rely on exactly 3 TV broadcasters, our current digital infrastructure relies on just a handful of very vulnerable, private choke points. So how do we fix it? Well, to figure that out, we have to zoom out and look at the evolution of the internet itself. Moving right along to Section 2, the web evolution, going from Web 1 to Web 3. Brian Brooks, the former acting comptroller of the currency, breaks this down beautifully. Think way back to the 1990s and Web 1. Remember firing up your original AOL account? It was basically read-only. You logged into this carefully curated walled garden to see exactly what they wanted to present to you. Kind of like how Time magazine used to just show you the articles they decided you should read. Then, late 90s and 2000s, we got Web 2. Game changer. Suddenly, you could write content. The blogosphere just exploded. But the internet centralized. All of that amazing interactive user activity was heavily monetized by a very small group of companies, mainly Facebook, Google, and a few others. Which brings us to the present day, Web 3. We are officially entering the era of read, write, and own. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive paradigm shift we're living through right now. Web3 introduces this entirely new ability to directly own the actual network through crypto assets. So instead of just reading stuff provided by a corporation or writing content that a big tech company monetizes for their own profit, you, the actual user, can own a stake in the underlying network itself. It's moving away from just renting private corporate infrastructure and finally moving toward owning public infrastructure. Let's dive into Section 3, Owning the Network Through Decentralized Power. So how does this ownership actually work in Web3? Back in the Web 2 days, maintaining the network was Google's job. In Web 3, it's totally decentralized. Here's how it goes down. Step 1. Everyday people provide their own computing power to maintain the network's public ledger. People usually call this mining or providing ledger maintenance services. Step 2. As a reward for doing that heavy lifting to keep the network running securely, you receive a digital asset token, like a piece of Bitcoin or Ethereum. Step 3. That token actually represents a direct, tangible ownership stake in the network itself. It's amazing. Someone sitting in their living room in Pueblo, Colorado can literally own a piece of the Ethereum network. You definitely can't own the traditional internet. Google and a few others own that. But through crypto assets, you can absolutely own these new decentralized networks. And because of this entirely decentralized ledger maintenance, we get the ultimate breakthrough. Bitcoin lets you send and receive value anywhere on the planet without a trusted middleman. The public blockchain literally is the ledger. Anyone can add an entry transferring their Bitcoins to someone else. By completely cutting out the corporation sitting in the middle, Bitcoin has successfully become the world's very first globally accessible, totally public digital payments infrastructure. And you want to know the cost of entry? Zero. Zilch. It costs absolutely nothing to create a Bitcoin address and start receiving digital payments. And anyone can do it. It doesn't matter what your nationality is, your race, religion, gender, or your creditworthiness. This system is completely open to everyone, everywhere, for free. It is truly public money for the digital age, completely stripping away those private corporate choke points we were talking about earlier. Which leads us to Section 4, the future of infrastructure and decentralizing power. Let's move to decentralized and see how this builds a completely different landscape for our future. It's like we're looking at a fork in the road. On one side, we have the main internet that we're all using today, and the future of that internet, well, it's decided by Twitter, Facebook, Google, and a small handful of other incredibly powerful tech giants. They hold all the keys. But over on the other side, the decentralized internet, the future is actually decided by the token-holding investors, the users themselves. If you hold tokens in a proof-of-stake network, for example, you literally get to vote on what happens with the future of that network. The token holders control the assets, not Google. It is a fundamental shift from corporate dictation to true democratic user ownership. To summarize just how massive this shift really is, Peter Van Valkenburg puts it perfectly. He says, it will be as significant for freedom, prosperity, and human flourishing as the birth of the internet. Think about it. The original internet removed single points of failure in how we communicate, right? And that ushered in an unbelievable wave of global innovation. Well, blockchains are now doing the exact same thing, but for our critical payments and infrastructure. By replacing those vulnerable private choke points with secure public rails, we are literally securing our digital future. So that leaves us with a truly fascinating question to ponder. Bitcoin already proved we can do this with money, but this technology, it absolutely does not stop there. If blockchains can successfully completely replace the middleman in our financial system, what other single points of failure are we going to decentralize next? Are we going to decentralize social media, our global supply chains, the entire physical Internet of Things? The possibilities for a truly user-owned internet are practically endless, and honestly, we are just at the very beginning of this incredible journey. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer today. I really hope this helps you and your family finally decode the wild world of crypto. Keep asking those big questions and keep learning.